I didn't always think much about pricing. At the beginning, it just felt like a lever you pull when something isn't working. If people weren't buying, you lower it. If things felt slow, you make it easier to say yes. That approach made sense. Because early on, you're not trying to optimize anything. You're just trying to get something to move. You want your first yes. Your first proof that what you've built actually matters to someone else. And once that happens, pricing feels almost secondary. Like as long as it sells, it's working. But after a while, something started feeling off for me. I noticed that even when more people were buying, the business didn't actually feel better. It felt heavier. More conversations, more expectations, more small things constantly needing attention. And I remember thinking, this doesn't feel like progress. It feels like I've created more work, not more control. That's when I started questioning something I hadn't really questioned before. What if pricing isn't just affecting revenue? What if it's shaping everything else too? At first, that felt like a stretch. But the more I paid attention, the more obvious it became. Because pricing quietly decides who shows up. It decides who says yes. It decides how long they think before deciding. And it decides how they behave once they're inside your system. That last part is the one I didn't see early enough. I used to think behavior was just personality. But it's not. It's heavily influenced by context. And pricing is part of that context. I started noticing patterns. When pricing was lower, more people came in, but there was more hesitation, more back and forth, more situations where I felt like I had to keep proving the value. And it wasn't dramatic. It was subtle, but it was constant. And over time, that constant friction adds weight to everything. It slows decisions down. It creates uncertainty. It makes the whole system feel unstable. But when pricing felt aligned, not inflated, just aligned, something shifted. The conversations became cleaner. People understood what they were saying yes to. There was less negotiation, less doubt, less explaining. And I didn't feel like I was trying to convince anyone. That was a big shift for me, because I realized I wasn't just changing a number. I was changing the entire dynamic. Pricing doesn't just influence whether someone buys. It changes how the entire interaction unfolds. And once that interaction changes, everything downstream changes with it. The way people engage, the way they follow through, the way they value what they've paid for. Another thing I didn't expect is how pricing affects you. Not just the business, but you personally. When pricing is too low, there's this quiet pressure that shows up. You feel like you have to compensate. You explain more than necessary. You deliver more than expected. You stretch yourself in ways that don't feel sustainable. And at first, it feels like you're just being committed. But over time, it starts to feel like you're constantly trying to make up for something. That feeling builds. It drains you slowly. But when pricing gives you enough margin, something changes. You're not rushing through everything. You're not trying to squeeze value into tight constraints. You actually have room to breathe, room to think, room to improve the system instead of constantly reacting to it. That space is hard to explain until you experience it. But once you do, it becomes very clear how important it is. Because now, you're not just maintaining the business. You're shaping it. I also had to face something else. Lower pricing feels safer. It feels like you're removing friction, like you're increasing your chances of getting a yes. And in some ways, you are. But you're also removing a filter. And that filter matters more than I realized. Without it, more people enter, but not all of them are aligned. And that misalignment doesn't show up immediately. It shows up later in how they communicate, in what they expect, in how they respond when things aren't perfect. And suddenly, you're managing situations you didn't design for. Whereas stronger pricing creates a different entry point. Fewer people come in, but the ones who do are usually more decided, more intentional, more aligned with what you're actually offering. And that alignment makes the system easier to run. Not because it's simple, but because it's consistent. Pricing doesn't just affect how many people enter your business. It determines how aligned they are when they do. That distinction changes everything. Because over time, the people inside your system shape what it becomes. Their expectations become your standards. Their behavior becomes your environment. Their outcomes become your reputation. So pricing isn't just an external decision, it's internal. It shapes the reality you operate in every day. There was also a moment where I realized something else. Pricing affects how seriously you take your own work. When pricing is too low, it's easy to treat what you're doing as temporary, adjustable, something you're still figuring out. But when pricing reflects the real value of what you've built, your posture changes. You take it more seriously. You protect it differently. You refine it more intentionally. That shift shows up in ways you don't expect. In how you communicate, in how you structure things, in how you make decisions. And over time, that compounds. Because now you're not just reacting to demand. You're defining how the system operates. Looking back, this is where pricing stopped feeling like something I adjust and started feeling like something I design. Because once you see how deeply it affects everything, you can't treat it casually anymore. It becomes a structural decision. What kind of business do I want to run? What kind of customers do I want to work with? What kind of experience do I want this system to create? Pricing sits right at the center of all of that. And once you start making decisions from that place, something shifts. You stop chasing conversions and start shaping the system. You stop asking, will this sell? And start asking, what kind of business does this create? And that question changes everything. Because now, pricing isn't just a number. It's a boundary. It's a filter. It's a signal. And most importantly, it's control. Control over who enters. Control over how things operate. Control over how the business actually feels to run. And once you experience that level of control, it's very hard to go back. Because now you understand something most people miss. Pricing isn't just about making money. It's about deciding what kind of business you're actually building.